All right, just a brief intro, because I already read the intro off. I'm Jamie Jones, manager of the Peoria Public Library North Branch. I am here with Dr. Rahmat Na'Allah and Dr. Harleena Kendhari to discuss women in medicine. They are both part of the University of Illinois College of Medicine at Peoria's Women in Medicine and Science Council. Got all that out. We're going to have a panel discussion, where I pose some questions and then we will get some questions in from the audience throughout. So let's go ahead and get started. Ladies, please introduce or tell us a bit about yourself.
Sounds good. I will go first. Hi, my name is Lena Kendhari. I am a pediatric hospitalist at the Children's Hospital, which is basically a pediatrician who sees kids who are admitted to the hospital only. So I don't actually work in a clinic. I have two little bugs, one who is 6 and one who is almost 10, so kindergarten and grade 4. I'm actually not from the US, I'm Canadian, and moved here to do medical school and do my residency and my training. I live in North Peoria, and I actually have time for fun stuff. I like to bake and cook, and I love telling people how much I love medicine and hanging out, running and biking with my kids.
All right, how am I going to top that?
I think I could introduce you. I'm so proud of you.
I am Ramat Na'Allah. I am a family physician. And so keyword family, in a family, you have dad, you have mom, you have grandpa, you have grandma, you have everybody. So I'm the kind of doctor that takes care of the whole family. That includes when mom is pregnant, I can deliver them too. When mom is done having babies, I can do procedures. So I can take care of kids like Dr. Kendhari, and I can take care of dad, and I can take care of grandpa, and I am the one that can take care of the whole family. I do take care of people in the hospital, and I also take care of people in the clinic. Sometimes people will call me the jack of all trade, and maybe master of none. But for me, after my family medicine training, I went on to do some extra training in obstetrics, which is delivering babies. So as I'm calling you right now, I'm calling you from the labor and delivery floor. I'm also a mom. I'm a mother of 4 girls. I'm much older than Dr. Kendhari. My oldest is 26. She just got married. And my youngest is 18. She's soon going to college. I love to eat, so I do love to cook. I also love to goof around. So when I'm not busy at work, I like to hang out with my friends and just, have fun. I like not to take life too seriously. So, yeah. And I'm also not originally from the United States, though I have lived here for the last 26 years. I'm originally from a country, the biggest country in Africa, Nigeria, but I am also an American citizen. Yeah.
All right, thank you. How did you both decide to pursue a career in medicine?
You want to go first, Roma?
Yeah. Fun. My mom, she's like 82 years old. She said that I loved playing with toys, and when I played with my toys, I always pretend like I was their doctor. So I would check them and say that, oh, your body feels hot, and I'll check their temperature. I'll pick toothpicks, and I will, prick them as if I'm giving them injection. And I think the idea came from her younger sister, who is my aunt, is a nurse. And I just love to follow her around. I think that's where that idea came from. So they knew that I was either going to be a nurse or a doctor. It just became natural. And sometimes mom even believed that because I had asthma growing up, but they think that I will fake my asthma illness just to end up in the hospital because I liked to be in the hospital. I don't think that was, maybe there is some truth in that. But yeah, my love for medicine came from a young age, and it has just been like that. And similar to Dr. Kendhari, I think it just became a natural process. So hopefully you will see the passion in us when we talk about medicine, because it doesn't feel like a job to us, because it just was just like a natural process. And I was blessed to see people that encouraged me, that did something similar, and so I just loved doing it. So that was my journey. It was not an easy journey, but when when you want to do something, whatever hurdles you find on the road, you always looked at it as opportunities, and you found ways to overcome them, because my goal was that I wanted to be a doctor and nothing could stop me.
So I'm a lot like Dr. Na'Allah. I knew, at least my mom tells me, I knew and used to say that when I was 5 or 4 that I was going to be a doctor or a pediatrician. I did honestly change my mind a few times. I thought maybe I'd want to be a teacher. I did think I actually wanted to be a journalist for a while, which I think is really cool, looking at current events and writing and taking photographs, which is part of what I like to do in my fun time. What I realized at the end, though, that medicine allows me to do all of those things and still take care of kids. So as a doctor, you can take care of patients, whether it's kids or adults, or do surgeries. You get to teach, which is part of what I love about my job currently, is I do get to teach medical students and residents and fellows. And I get to write. I get to write opinions. I can write articles if I want to, but really it's taking care of people and their families, babies, teenagers, their parents, really sick kids sometimes. And so I think I've always wanted to do this, and being able to incorporate all the other things I love was awesome, that I could do all of those things in medicine and not have to pick. So kind of always is what I've always known I wanted to do medicine.
That's awesome. That's really what I was curious about. It's like, is it something that, you always start with something like, I'm going to be something huge when I'm a child, and then it changes throughout your life. But so it's really interesting to see that it was really kind of from the very beginning, even if it changes a little bit here and there, something that just natural, starting from your, anyway, please describe your medical school experience. We've talked a little bit already about sort of like, how you transitioned and got there, but really about like kind of the stages of, getting into medical school, and there's a long way to go from that beginning. So
sure.
Just the whole experience.
So I think everyone's journey in medical school is a little bit different. Mine, being Canadian, was a little different than your average American med student here. Canada, if anyone is familiar at all with Canada, is a much smaller country in population. And so there's actually not a lot of medical schools. And the first time I applied, I didn't get in to a Canadian med school. So I had to figure out whether if there was something else I wanted to do, if I was going to give up, or if I was going to try a different way. So I actually applied to American med schools, and I ended up getting into a school in the Caribbean. So I got to live on a teeny tiny little Caribbean island called Nevis, where there was 64 square miles and a mountain in the middle, surrounded by the ocean. And that's actually where I did my medical school. So I finished my undergrad degree, and then I went to med school in the Caribbean, and I ended up in the US for my clinical rotations, which is where you sort of practice all of your skills on how you're going to learn to be a doctor. And then I matched, the word is matched, when you get put with a program who's going to finish training you into pediatrics here in Peoria. And I have been here for the majority of my career. I've always liked kids in the hospital. Clinic is just not my jam. Doesn't do it for me. Kids in clinic are real cute, but it's just not my thing. And I think that's a great part about medicine, is where Dr. Na'Allah goes from birth to death an inpatient and outpatient, I got to pick that I only wanted to do kids who were admitted to the hospital. And that is the part of pediatrics that I do. So it was a bit of a weird kind of circular journey to get to where I wanted to go. But I ultimately got to what I said I was going to do at 5, which was take care of kids.
So my journey is different from Dr. Kendhari's. The system, the journey to get into medicine in Africa and in Europe is different from the Americas, in the sense that in European countries and in African countries, you can go directly from high school straight into medical school. They are beginning to do some of that in the United States now. It's called a 6-year GPPA program, where you can just go from high school and you go straight into medical school, but it will be like 6 years instead of doing your bachelor's first for 4 years and then medical school for 4 years. And so for me, I went straight from high school to medical school. And so medical school was 6 years. It's a little shorter when you compare it to the traditional way that Dr. Kendhari did it, where she has to do a bachelor's degree first, and then you then go to do 4 years of medical school. And I feel like I like that better, because you are more mature when you go into medical school than us. I'm just like, you have this 16-year-old that is now going into medical school, and you're just all green-eyed and trying to figure things out in the cadaver lab. And so that was how I did it. And so I finished medical school in Nigeria and came straight to, went to Canada, actually. Fun fact about me is I'm also a Canadian. I lived in Canada because I got married after medical school and joined my husband. And so I went to the Caribbean to do a 1-year internship, because being a foreign graduate, it's not easy for you to just get into residency training in either Canada or the United States. So my way to get my foot into the door was to have some, something similar to what they have. And so coming into the United States, I had to do their entrance exams before I now got into residency. And while I was studying for residency, I went to graduate school. And so it's not unusual for you to see people before they go into medical school, between undergraduate and medical school, going to get their master's in something. So, so I did that. But either way, the most important thing is that I've heard people say that, oh, I don't want to do medicine, it's just too many years. Or maybe I should just do nursing because this just takes too long. The time goes so fast that you won't even know how, before you know it, you're there. And so, or you will hear people say, oh, you're a woman, you should be thinking about getting married, you should be thinking about having babies. This is just going to take too long. And nothing can be farther from the truth. There's nothing a man can do that a woman cannot do. And the years don't matter. Many people get married while they're in medical school or in undergrad. So I see some people raising up their hands. We will be happy to take all your questions, but you can do even better. The sex doesn't matter. Your gender doesn't matter in what you can achieve and the journey to get there. We will be lying to you if we said that it was easy, because you have to do a lot of hard work. You are taking care of human life, and you have to learn how to do it right. Otherwise, you will be risking people's lives. Imagine if Dr. Kendhari doesn't know what to do with the very sick kids at the children's hospital. So it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of long hours that we have to do. But it's really, really worth it, because you want to do it and you have people who are teaching you and you get there. So.
Do you guys have any questions while we're talking? Because if you do, please ask. You don't have to wait till the end. Oh, yay, a question. Maybe.
Don't be shy. There are no silly questions. We asked all those questions when we were growing up too.
Nope. Okay.
So you should be able to unmute yourself at any time. I did have it set so that anyone coming in would be muted right away, but you can unmute yourself anytime and throw a question out there or put it in the chat if you're more comfortable with that. You're interested in finding out how you dealt with student debt.
Sure. That is a great question. So I absolutely am not going to lie and tell you that there is no debt associated with medical school. I think there's debt associated with all higher studies. And I could go off on my crazy opinion tangent on the Canadian education system versus the US, but I'm not going to today. So there is debt. I think there's a way to plan and save for that. I did work during undergrad. And I did work a little bit during some of my medical school stuff, and it supplemented what I was learning. Like I tutored, and in undergrad, I did some research work, and I did some stuff that helped offset some of those costs. I think one of the biggest things that you have to remember that when you're done your studies, you still have to be mindful of the fact that you're living within a budget. I think learning how to budget is one of the most important things a person can learn. And as you guys are going through your schooling stuff, this is real boring information, but consider taking like a finance or an economics class in high school or in undergrad. I think learning the basics of how to manage money is something that'll apply whether you go into medicine or not, whether you're a teacher or whether you go into an engineering career. How to manage your money, how to budget, how to figure out what you need versus what you want is super important. The debt, even though it's present, doesn't change the satisfaction that I get from my job. And so that balances it out. I think if you're not doing something you love, you feel resentful about having spent money on it. It's like buying something and it's not as cool as you realize, or not as cool as you thought it would be, and then you're mad that you wasted your money on it. It's the same thing, right? If you don't love what you do and you don't care about what it is you're doing, then it'll feel worse about having spent that money. But if you love your job, if it's challenging, if you're with cool people and you get to work with your friends and do awesome things, as well as, help people with their health, then it doesn't feel so bad that you had to pay for the privilege to learn how to do this. Does that answer the question, Ms. Martin?
I'll just say very briefly, in addition to what Dr. Kendhari said, is many of the jobs when you finish residency and you start practicing on your own, many of them will offer loan repayment, especially in smaller towns or cities. And they will say, and some of them can be huge, that, oh, we will pay off, 50% per year, $50,000 per year of your student loan, as long as you stay with us every year for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So it's not as bad as it seems. And the more rural you practice, the more money they offer you, because they need doctors in the small and rural America. So it's and it really does feel rewarding to take care of people who don't have doctors. So you are not just caring for the people who otherwise won't, you are also getting well compensated for it too.
That's excellent to know. I hadn't heard of the loan forgiveness program, but that is wonderful. Personally, I have public service loan forgiveness underway. So as long as you work in public service, which I imagine healthcare would qualify. But yeah, great answers, ladies, and great question. Thank you. Throw them in there if you have more. My next one is just, what obstacles have you encountered during your study and your career? Obviously Hard work, very hard work. But is there anything relating to being a woman or anything else that kind of came up that you want to add?
I think Dr. Na'Allah alluded to it a little bit, but the idea that as a woman, someone is always going to ask you, can you do this? Shouldn't you do something easier? What about getting married? What about having children? If that's your choice, because honestly, it doesn't have to be. You do not have to do what people think you're supposed to do. If you don't want to get married, don't get married. If you don't want to have children, don't have children. That is a very personal choice, but people take those personal choices and make them a subject of public discussion. Like the ability to have children somehow means that you can't do really cool, really hard things. So I think knowing what you want to do with that question and how to answer that question, which I would highly recommend you say none of your business, frankly. But also you do have to think about some of those things, but it shouldn't change what it is that you want to do. Dr. Na'Allah and I both have children. We both have children, I think our jobs are super cool. My eldest calls me her princess Dr. Mama, meaning I can dress cool and help kids and still be her mama, and all of those are equivalent and equally cool. I do have younger children for what it's worth. I don't imagine any of you would do that. But that's her favorite thing. Mommy, I'm proud of you. You're a princess, you're a doctor, and you're a mama all at the same time. And I think that says a lot, that you can actually do it if that's what you want to do. And I love my little princess crown for what it's worth.
I can't add any more to that.
I think there's a question in the chat. Were you involved in STEM programs? And did you ever face adversity in a program like this? So growing up, there wasn't a ton of STEM programs. The STEM programs for women and just the push on STEM, I think didn't start till about 10 or 15 years ago. And so aging myself, I will tell you that I have been out of school a long time, and that 15-year mark or so when they began pushing STEM programs for young people and specifically young women was a lot earlier than when I was doing it. I did get to do a lot of cool programs growing up. So science stuff at our local museum. I did a lot of writing workshops. I didn't have trouble with STEM stuff when I was in undergrad and in high school. 50% plus of my classes were women. And so it never felt like it was weird for me to be doing that. I didn't do a lot of computer stuff or engineering stuff, so I can't speak to those fields. But I would get involved in the programs you find interesting to you. So if an anatomy lab or a cadaver lab is cool, then you should do that. Or if a writing program is cool, or an engineering or a baking class over the summer, like whatever your interests are, you should pursue them.
Thank you. Appreciate the response. Thank you for more questions. Throw them in there. My next one is, what resources or opportunities helped you most along the way?
Well, from the beginning, for me, it was knowing my aunt, asking questions, and just being curious, not being afraid to get into stuff. I was always curious. I was always questioning. I wasn't afraid to, just to use my curiosity to challenge stuff and say, hey, I want to know why you did that, or I want to know this. I think nowadays, because mine was a long time ago, what I will really advise is to try to job shadow. You guys have access to school counselors, and they should be reaching out to people, not just in medicine, people who are doing careers that you are interested in. It could be a lawyer, it could be a farmer, it could be an engineer, anything. As you are getting into the end of your middle school, beginning of high school, you should start shadowing some of those professions so that you can see how much you love them, or maybe they're not even as rosy as you thought they were, because that really helps you nail things down to decide, oh, I really want to do this, or, oh, I don't care for this. My oldest daughter wanted to be a doctor, and she actually did her bachelor's in neuroscience in Chicago. It was in her third year of neuroscience that she decided that she didn't want to be a doctor anymore, because she was volunteering at the Chicago Public School District. And she saw that her heart was in teaching, especially in making a difference, because she saw that there was a huge disparity in kids in neighborhoods that were not very rich, and compared to the school district where she grew up at. And so when she called us and she said that she didn't want to be a doctor anymore, she wanted to be she wanted to teach so that she could do something so that all kids could have the opportunity that she had, irrespective of where they came from. I welcomed it, so your career plan can change by you. And this was somebody that had followed me to the OR, to the operating room, and had shadowed my colleagues in their clinic, and was like gone hold on being a doctor. And suddenly she said she wasn't going to be, because what is most important, like Dr. Kendhari said, is the job shouldn't just be a job. It should be something that is a service. It should be something that you are passionate about. And it should be something that you go home every day happy that I did what I want to do. This is what makes me happy. It shouldn't just be that I get my paycheck out of it. And so that was what it did for her. So the school counselor should be helping you and advising you and giving you the opportunities, because that's certainly what did it for me. At one point, I even thought I wanted to be a pilot, because I have an uncle who is a pilot, and I love driving fast. And I thought that, okay, if I'm a pilot, that I don't have to even be on the road. I can be in the sky and nobody can stop me. But when I saw that, okay, this doesn't make sense. So those are the resources. You can even volunteer, at the hospitals, and just follow this. We have older gentlemen and gentlewomen at the hospitals that help patients navigate the clinics or the floors. You can go with them and have some patient contact and see how things go. That will really open your eyes to, oh, this is what it feels like taking care of people, and just giving more outside of yourself, because that is what being a doctor is about. Giving more beyond yourself and just caring for people. And if it really just weirds you out, I'm like, ew, I don't want to do that, then that gives you your answer.
I absolutely agree with Dr. Na'Allah. Your guidance counselor, your opportunities in the community, there's a ton of stuff out there where you can try stuff. There is Model UN to figure out if you want to be a politician. There are STEM camps at Jump and around the city. There are camp counselor opportunities to figure out if you even like kids. There's a ton of stuff that you can do to try to narrow down a little bit what interests you. I would think about the stuff that you guys like doing for fun and how you can turn that into a job. That's really where your passion lies, right? If you go and, I don't know, you like beading, or you love to go run. Maybe you want to be a trainer or a counselor or a gym teacher or something with sports. I think look at what you like to do for fun, and then look at the opportunities around you. I want to comment on the resources and opportunities, and realizing your family and your friends are your greatest resource and opportunity, both to support you in what you want to do, but also in suggesting stuff to you. Ask people what they think you're really good at and what they see you doing. Your parents, your teachers, your older sister, your cousin, your uncle, they're all ways to check out jobs and careers and what you might want to do. And then ask them, hey, can I come hang out with you at work one day? And if you really don't love it, like Dr. Na'Allah said, then maybe it's not for you and you find something else. The other thing I want to tell you, and this is something that was never told to me, is that you can totally change your mind. You can do one thing, and Dr. Na'Allah talked about this a little with her daughter changing her mind, but just because you pick something doesn't mean you have to stick to it forever. It doesn't make you happy. If it's not your thing 5 years down the road, you might have put work into it, but it doesn't mean you have to stay there. And you can always change your mind, and you can learn a new skill. And that's the cool thing about where you are now, is you can learn a whole bunch about a lot of things and then figure out what you want to do with it. So everything you learn now is going to someday somehow help you, even if you don't see it at the moment.
Excellent answers, both. My next one is kind of, I think you sort of already said a lot of about what motivates you and how you stay motivated. Sounds like the job is really what does it, but if there's anything you want to add.
No, the job motivates me, but also the fact that I get to work with really, really cool people. And my job is different every day. I get to teach, I get to work with my colleagues, I get to take care of patients, I get to run a program, I get to do stuff like this. And so every day is a little bit different. And so I don't have one thing that I do in my job. And so that makes it fun for me. But ultimately, it's that I get to take care of kids.
Same here. When I chose to be a doctor, I didn't just want to be a doctor, just like prescribing medications and popping pills. I wanted it to be a service to humanity. And so to me, that's what being a doctor is. We don't always have the answers to all the problems or the challenges that our patients bring to us, because we don't know it all. But our patients come to us and we'll be like, we've done all the testing and investigations that we can do, but I really don't know what's going on, but I know that everything else, there's nothing dangerous going on. And the patient can walk out of my office feeling like I did the best, and they're happier coming in and leaving than when they came in. I have that sense of accomplishment. That motivates me. And that makes me feel like what brought me into this profession, I am fulfilling it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. My next question is about how do you deal with stress? The stress of your position, of when you were in medical school, the stress of getting that done. How do you deal with it?
The same way you guys deal with stress with tests and deadlines and things you need to do. Figure out what helps you relax. For me, it's running and baking stuff to feed people. Recognizing that you don't have to be perfect at everything, but you do have to try. If I've tried my hardest, then that's the best I can do. Realizing that there's people around me that believe in me. And it sounds real hokey, but I know my dad thinks I'm the bestest ever. And so if I tried my hardest and it didn't work, my dad's going to be there and he'll tell me how amazing I am. And it may not always be the truth, but that's my resource. And that recognizing that you are going to get stressed and there's things that are going to be hard, and you just have to have a resource to deal with that stuff, and that trying your best is sometimes the best that you can do.
Same here. I love to sleep. I recharge with sleep and talking and hanging out with family. So family and friends. Yeah. And one thing I always tell colleagues or people that I mentor is that when you are feeling down, that's not the time to call a friend that is going to pull you down. All right. We always have those negative Nellies in our lives. So if you are feeling like, oh God, I hate my job, or I hate myself, or life just sucks right now, don't call that person. You know that person that is going to say, oh, it's not worth it. Why are you even doing that? You probably want to call the person that is going to tell you, like Dr. Kendhari's dad. That's the person that you want to call when you are feeling that way. So use your team members wisely, Yeah.
How do you reconcile work-life balance with career opportunities?
Oh, that's a hard one. Know that when you guys go through life, that the idea of balance is kind of hard to maintain. I think the notion that everything should be equal all the time is hard. And so sometimes your job is going to be more important and sometimes your family is going to be. But really the family, the people you choose to love should be the most important all of the time. Think about stuff that brings you joy. So if someone presents you with an opportunity, one, is it going to help get me where it is that I want to go? Does it make me happy? Like, is this the thing I want to be doing? And am I being helpful? So it may not be the exact thing I want to do, but does it help my community? Then I probably will say yes. If it's an opportunity that takes me one step closer to a goal, then I will probably say yes. And does it bring me joy? Even if it's not exactly what it is that I'm doing, but does it bring me joy? Because why do something that isn't going to bring you joy in some way? Not everything's going to make you happy. You're going to make choices and not everything is easy, but does it bring you joy on the inside? And sometimes you have to say no to stuff, whether it's because you don't have time or whether it's because something else or somebody else is a greater priority. I don't take a lot of evening stuff because I want to be home with my kids. That's my choice. My babies bring me joy. So I skip out on evening things, but sometimes the thing at night brings me joy. And then I tell my kids that I have to go do something and they understand.
I echo that too. You are only one person and you can't do it all. And you can't be perfect at everything. Knowing that if you wear yourself out, you will not be useful on your job and you will be useless to your family and friends too. So you have to learn to say no. Um, I try to surround myself with, like-minded people. So learning to collaborate so that, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't do this right now, but I know, Dr. Kendhari is highly skilled in this area. Let me ask her and see if she has time to help you. So just being able to collaborate and work with people, use your team members because we're all trying to provide opportunities for one another. It's a good skill, as we all climb up in this professional ladder. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's good for all career areas, wherever you end up. Now, women now make up slightly more than half of all medical students, to my understanding. So we can reasonably hope to see more and more women physicians in the future. But as a practicing professional, what gaps do you still see? Like, where do women still need to make some gains?
Oy. I mean, I think there's a ton of studies out there about this stuff. Women do tend to make up over 50% of people in med school, close to 45% of residents. Women still tend to choose non-surgical careers. And so I think having more women in surgery would be fantastic. Women are also less represented in higher academic positions, hospital CEOs, deans of medical schools. It's kind of like business where your CEOs and your presidents, or a lot of them are still men. The business industry is probably a tad ahead of medicine, maybe a tad ahead, but I think having women in power in terms of the top of your scale is where we still have some work to do. I think recognizing that it's sometimes easier to talk to people who look like you, who think like you, makes a difference. It makes a difference that I can speak a different language to my patients, and sometimes they're more comfortable with me. That it makes a difference that I'm a woman and I can teach and I have kids. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes that doesn't, to be perfectly honest, because we're all a little different. But it'd be great to see one of you guys, if you choose to go into medicine, be the president of a hospital or run a medical school or run a program. That would be amazing that 20 years from now, one of you guys could be doing that.
I agree completely.
All right. My last question is, I mean, you've been giving tons of advice throughout this whole program, and excellent, excellent advice. But is there any other advice you'd want to give a middle or high school student considering a career in medicine?
If it's your dream, then do it. There's about 100 different ways to get to where we are. I know that sounds really pithy, and I'm like a grown up, so what do I know? And I totally get that. If it's your dream, then do it. Dr. Ramat, Dr. Na'Allah, and I both took very different paths to get to medicine. And I think if you talk to any doctor, the stones you step on, the paths you take, there's about 100 different ways to get to one place. If that's what you want to do, then you should do it. And you should find people to support you along the way and figure out your steps to get there. But if medicine is your dream, whether it's being a surgeon, being a pediatrician, running a hospital, delivering babies, or just teaching, whatever it is, if that's what you want to do, then you should do it.
Just in addition, whatever you choose to do, it's important that you believe in yourself. You know, your parents, your siblings, your family, your friends, they can tell you you can do it, you know, till they are blue in the face, but you have to believe in yourself, because there's nothing the next person can do that you can do either. And whatever resources, I think there are so many more resources available to you guys nowadays than they were for us several years ago. You know, I hear that you can go to ICC college tuition free now. You can go to even Eureka College now. It's free. You can get a lot of college credits, even in high school. So many opportunities for you that you just need to tap into it. Somebody sent me a list of 211, you know, and you just go to 211, you look at all these resources that are there, you know, ask a trusted adult, ask the counselor in your school, you know, and, you know, go to the library and just ask questions. If you can't find it, ask again. But the only thing that you can't do is what you tell yourself that you cannot do, okay? Because we certainly believe in you.
Amy, can I make one other comment?
Absolutely.
So when I was growing up about 20, 30, 40 years ago now, there weren't a lot of women doing super cool things that people knew about. I think there's a lot of highlighting women now and the cool positions they have and the awesome things that we can do, especially within STEM. And so we always grew up with the idea that we were competing with our friends to get to where we wanted to go. Remember the friends that you guys make now, your girlfriends, your sisters, all of the people around you are your greatest allies and strengths. And so there is a ton of room on the playground, in the stadium, in the president's office, in the school for all of you. It doesn't mean just because two of you want to do something that you have to compete. You guys can actually lift each other up and both get there. So be each other's friends, lift each other up, support each other to get to where you want to go as young women.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience? Anything additional? That's all I've got. In the meantime, I'll give you a minute to think about it. If anyone doesn't want to throw anything out there, I'm just going to say we have, she was unable to make it today, but Dr. Jocelyn McLean, she's the co-chair of the University of Illinois College of Medicine at Peoria and of the Women in Medicine and Science Council. She donated 50 copies of this book, Beyond Beautiful, A Girl's Guide to Studying Self-Care and Staying Focused During Difficult Times, to the audience here. So I will make sure to get those to the different schools that need them. It is written, it is edited by Dr. Jasmine Zapata, and it is an empowering collection of stories written by members of the Madam Dreamers Academy, all of whom are up-and-coming leaders in medicine, public health, advocacy, and mentorship. So right along board with what we're talking about today. So yeah, expect to see some of these at your school soon for you to take. You'll have your own personal copy, most likely. Yeah, that was a very great thing of Dr. McLean. If there's no other questions, we'll let our speakers go. I know that they've got somewhere to be at 2 o'clock, but if there are anything, don't be shy.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Well, thank everyone for coming.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you both so much. It's been great to get to know you via email, and then now today was wonderful, really.
Thanks for putting this on. It was so fun to do.
Good. I'm glad. I said it was a long way to get here, but so much fun. Yeah, I mean, really, we really want to get the word out there to kids. It's hard to get a program that kids will come to, though. Like we really try lots of different ways, but this is one I think I had the most people come to, and I know that there are other schools really interested in attending virtually later. They're going to watch the recording, so we'll send that along.
Awesome. Well, thank you for setting this up for us.
Thank you. Thank you both
Lena,
so much.
don't be a stranger.
No, I will not. I hope I get to see you very, very soon.
Okay, me too.
Well, take care, guys.
Bye.